that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed. They were apparently being pursued by paparazzi on 2 motorcycles.
Rumors are circulating again in the royal halls, but this time neither Meghan nor Harry are the focus of attention. No, Princess Anne and little Princess Charlotte, 2 of the monarchy's most unexpected truth-seekers, are involved in this surprising turn of events. What began as a harmless incident in Queen Camilla's private quarters turned into a revelation that had the potential to destroy royal confidence and permanently alter relationships within the Windsor family. According to palace insiders, the discovery was unintentional. But what does that imply? Earth-shaking indeed. Was that a letter that was never intended to be read? Are velvet curtains concealing a secret portrait? Or something far more destructive and personal? According to reports, Charlotte, who was intelligent beyond her years, posed questions that no one was prepared to answer, and Princess Anne, known for her devotion to the crown and no-nonsense demeanor, appeared terrified. Whatever they discovered has already caused senior royals to gather in private and express concern about Queen Camilla's past and future. Will a long-suppressed scandal emerge as a result of this? Or will a royal tie that had been meticulously preserved for decades unravel? Stay tuned. You won't believe what was concealed behind those palace doors. Watch until the end, because what Anne and Charlotte discovered may change everything you thought you knew about Queen Camilla, a royal walk that became a game-changer. In recent months, there has been an increasing demand for a smaller monarchy, a more contemporary, close-knit royal family. However, a senior royal quickly responded. He vehemently supported the monarchy's organizational framework, arguing that each function remains important. However, beneath those public declarations lies something far more sensitive, which no one expected to be revealed in Queen Camilla's bedroom of all places. Princess Anne and her granddaughter, Princess Charlotte, are known for their sharpness and fierce loyalty, but they were not spying. While at Clarence House, they only went into Queen Camilla's private chamber. It was expected to run smoothly, but they froze, stunned by what they had discovered. Something that shook the foundations of royal memory was hidden in a drawer in a quiet corner. However, this is no ordinary letter. Frances Shand Kidd, Princess Diana's mother, wrote it by hand. What about the contents? Beyond sentimental, the letter described Diana's agonizing final days, her struggles inside the royal gates, and the crippling loneliness she experienced despite everyone's love for her. Frances spoke out about her daughter's pain, concerns, and legacy, which had been kept hidden in royal silence. Her words were straightforward and unvarnished. This has some people in Buckingham Palace scratching their heads. Why was Camilla in possession of this letter, which was so personal to Diana? Was it overlooked, kept secret, or purposefully hidden from the public? This finding is so explosive because of the timing, tone, and secrecy. Despite Camilla's long-term efforts to change her image, this discovery may reopen wounds that many thought were healing. The occasion was significant for Charlotte, the heir to a new royal generation, and Anne, a pillar of duty. That letter called into question the allegiance of the past, and perhaps even the present. Did the royal family let Diana down in her darkest moments? Has that suffering been hidden out of fear, guilt, or defense? We must go back to fully understand the letter's significance. In addition to being Diana's mother, Frances Shand Kidd was born into the aristocracy and was therefore obligated to the crown. Her personal life was full of pain, regret, and alienation. Despite her strained relationship with Diana, this letter appears to be a mother's final confession, or at least an attempt at reconciliation. Frances was surrounded by royalty from the moment she took her first breath at Park House on the Sandringham estate. Her mother, Ruth Roche, was Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's lady-in-waiting, and her father, Baron Maurice Roche, was a close friend of King George VI. Frances was raised in the royal circle, so she was not only exposed to royalty. Frances was born with the title of the Honorable and was taught to speak quietly, smile elegantly, and never air dirty linen. However, a silent tempest was brewing beneath the posture and jewels. Frances made headlines at the age of 18. She married John Spencer, Viscount Althorp, on June 1, 1954, at Westminster Abbey. Queen Elizabeth II was among the glittering royal guests at the event. Frances became the Abbey's youngest bride in 50 years, which was both an honor and a responsibility. She appeared to have everything: wealth, a title, and a position as a future countess in one of Britain's most aristocratic families. However, tradition, expectation, and silence were drowning Frances. Frances met Peter Shand Kidd, an Australian wallpaper heir who was charming and wealthy in 1966. Their bond was immediate and perilous. Frances did something unprecedented for a woman of her status a year later, in 1967. She divorced her husband. The elite gasped. The journalists had a field day. Divorce was still frowned upon, especially for a woman of nobility with young children. However, Frances desired freedom. The savage custody battle that ensued was not what she had expected. Diana's life was forever altered by the betrayal she experienced. When Frances's mother, Ruth Roach, testified against her daughter, the courtroom turned violent. She argued that John Spencer was the better father and supported him. Many people were stunned by the betrayal, but not the judge, who granted John complete custody of Sarah, Jane, Diana, and Charles. Everything was lost for Frances. Diana, who was only 6 at the time, was distraught. Her mother was present one day, stroking her hair and kissing her goodnight. Then she was gone. Not a warning, no explanation that a child could understand. Diana would carry the scars of abandonment for the rest of her life, her relationships, mental health. The feeling that she wasn't chosen would also have a negative impact on her approach to parenting. Later, she would tell friends, "It felt like she left me." Diana's mother's absence left her permanently scarred. She once said, "Deep sadness settled inside me." Despite her affection for her father, she craved a mother's touch and frequently questioned whether she was truly lovable. Indeed, they were in love. However, there is also mistrust, desire, and bitterness. Diana craved intimacy, but the unpleasant burden of history hung over every conversation with Frances. Diana never truly forgave Frances for leaving. Rain, Countess of Dartmouth, a glamorous socialite and daughter of romantic novelist Barbara Cartland, married John Spencer in 1976. This was like rubbing salt in an old wound for Diana. She and Rain had a heated argument, and she was referred to as Acid Rain. Diana thought this woman was cold, distant, and unconcerned about the Spencer children's needs. The sense that home was no longer hers grew stronger. Frances and Peter's marriage had completely dissolved by 1988 as a result of the fractures. After leaving her, Peter's Shand child returned to his first wife. Once again, the lady who had given up everything for love, including her marriage, social standing, and children, was abandoned. The reality was more nuanced. Frances was never able to fully reconcile her past and present. She attributed this to social pressure and media attention. Frances regained royal prominence in 1981 when Diana became engaged to Prince Charles. Suddenly, the daughter she had previously lost would become the next Queen of England. It seemed like a cosmic twist to Frances. Following her expulsion from the aristocracy, her daughter was now in a position to govern it. Although it was based on a strained mother-daughter relationship, it was a bittersweet redemption. Frances had a strange sense of déjà vu as she watched Diana's royal marriage fall apart. Diana faced the same issues: emotional isolation, unrealistic public expectations, and a cold spouse. Diana, however, didn't flee like Frances did. She lingered, for her sons, for the general public, and for the possibility of repairing it. Even though Frances could feel her daughter's pain, they were still separated. In an interview with Hello magazine in 1996, shortly after Diana's tumultuous divorce, Frances stated that Diana was content to give up her title of Her Royal Highness. Diana was infuriated. Once more, she felt vulnerable and deceived by the woman who was supposed to protect her. This interview ruined their relationship. They never spoke again. It never got repaired. So there was a sad silence. Frances was at odds with Diana when she died in a car accident in August 1997. The sensation of guilt was overwhelming. She had lost her daughter once more, permanently, with no chance to make amends, find closure, or find peace. She thanked the public for their love and support in a classy, handwritten statement that she released, saying, "Though the world wasn't sure it was the whole truth, it was a lovely sentiment. Here comes Diana's trusted butler and confidant, Paul Burrell." In a shocking turn of events, he claimed that after Diana died, Frances destroyed her correspondence and mementos. If this is correct, it suggests that Frances was attempting to conceal the raw human side of Diana's life, the extramarital affairs, the pleas for help, and the real Diana. Burrell was charged with theft after secretly rescuing and concealing items. However, the trial collapsed when he revealed that Queen Elizabeth herself was aware. But the damage was done. Frances spent her final years alone, becoming a Catholic and volunteering with animal rescue and children's organizations. Still haunted by what had never been said, she died in 2004. Her story focuses on mistakes, regrets, and missed opportunities, rather than villains and victims. She loved Diana, even if she wasn't always sure how to express it. Frances remains in the background, complicated, conflicted, and constantly grieving, as the world remembers Diana's unparalleled light. On August 30th, 1997, Diana, Princess of Wales and Dodi Fayed, entered the back seat of a black Mercedes-Benz in an attempt to avoid the paparazzi flash. They left around the back of the Ritz Hotel in Paris in a last-ditch effort to gain privacy in a world that had never given her any. They were not aware that their driver, Henri Paul, was under the influence of alcohol and prescription drugs. He hurried through the city, as if fleeing from the darkness. Tragic events occurred when the vehicle entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. The car hit a pillar in a matter of seconds. The scene was terrifying. Firefighter Xavier Gourmelon later recalled that Diana was still conscious when he arrived. Her concluding remarks, "Oh my God," she exclaimed softly and bewilderedly before falling silent. The Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital was the first place she was taken. Diana died of internal injuries despite the physicians' desperate efforts. The world's most adored woman has died at the age of just 36, the calm before the revelation. It began as a harmless lunchtime visit. Princess Anne, known for her pragmatism and fierce devotion to her brother, King Charles III, had grown increasingly suspicious of Camilla's growing power in the royal household, especially given the king's alleged health issues. Camilla had assumed greater responsibilities as Charles stepped down from public service, bringing with her a newfound power that some found unsettling. After the Queen Consort canceled a series of events due to exhaustion, Anne, who is never one to believe everything she hears, decided to check on Camilla's health. She was not alone, however. Charlotte, 9, had spent the weekend in Windsor with her great-aunt. Charlotte, like her late grandmother, Princess Diana, was eager to explore, ask questions, and learn about the world beyond the staged smiles of public appearances. Camilla's private quarters were quiet and had closed doors, which was unusual for a woman used to keeping things open and informal. According to a chambermaid, Camilla left abruptly for her Wiltshire home, Ray Mill House, without bringing any employees with her that morning. There was an issue. Anne summoned a master key from the palace steward, wielding her royal birthright. The air inside was heavy. There were no fresh flowers, no tea table, and no signs of recent habitation, but the room smelt faintly of lavender. The room was filled with profound silence. Then Charlotte noticed it in the far corner of the room, behind a dressing screen. An ancient clasp secures a large wood trunk. "What's this?" she questioned with wide eyes. Anne stepped forward cautiously. She recognized the monogram, which was barely carved on the top, D.S. Diana Spencer. She gasped. Anne pleaded with Charlotte to take a step back. Anne unlocked the chest and removed a pair of lace gloves from the vanity. Dozens of the late Princess Diana's personal items were discovered inside. The items included private letters, handwritten journals, and personal belongings that no one had seen prior to her untimely death in 1997, as well as photos and souvenirs. However, how did Camilla, who is frequently blamed for Diana's marriage disintegrating, get hold of them? Charlotte leaned over, quiet now. One letter was addressed to my sons in the event that I died. Another, dated only months before the fatal Paris crash, was Diana's letter to Queen Elizabeth II, written in crimson ink. Diana's journals described her fears of being watched, phone tapping, a dark presence in the palace, and a persistent belief that her life would end before she could see her boys become men. Anne sat still. The ramifications were huge. Neither of the two choices was comforting. One theory is that Camilla stole them, possibly during the tumultuous months following Diana's death, when her belongings were hastily divided and removed from Kensington Palace. Or worse, she obtained them from a family member. Who would behave that way? Charles, a man haunted by his past and desperate to reconcile with the woman he loved, was the subject of speculation. Giving Camilla such personal pieces of Diana's legacy felt like betraying Diana, William Harry, and the people who loved her. The fact that everything had been so covert was even more unsettling. Why conceal Diana's deepest emotions in a location where no one can see them? And why had Camilla suddenly and recklessly abandoned them? The photographs that transformed everything, a sealed manila envelope with the words, "Private, do not open, eyes only," was tucked away at the bottom of the chest. Anne pulled it open. The public had never seen images like those contained within. Diana's candid photos in Highgrove Gardens with William and Harry. But Anne's hands shook when she saw one particular picture. Diana, a few weeks before her death, was shown standing alone in a Clarence House hallway. Her eyes seemed empty. A woman wearing Camilla's iconic gold bracelet, which she had owned for decades, stood next to her in the photograph, albeit half-cropped. Was Camilla present, in secret, before Diana died? What did they say to one another, if anything? Why did Queen Camilla decide to keep these items? Charlotte inquired. Anne and the monarchs were unable to answer the question. The one thing no royal had dared to say was, "Sometimes in this family the truth gets hidden," Anne explained, kneeling in front of her granddaughter. "It always escapes, though. Charlotte will remember that experience for the rest of her life because it was so intense." Anne made a commitment that day. Diana's voice needed to be heard once more. The palace was silent as soon as King Charles learnt of the discovery. Camilla received a quiet call. There is no public statement, no press. According to insiders, Charles and Anne had a heated disagreement following a private dispute. According to sources, Anne demanded to know why the objects had been hidden and why Camilla had kept them for so long. Camilla, startled, provided only this: "I kept them because I was afraid of what they represented. I took them with no intention of harming anyone. I took them to comprehend her and bring about peace." Was it possession or peace? The Queen's impassioned plea did little to calm the storm. Apparently enraged, Prince William demanded that everything be returned to Diana's estate. Harry's aunt informed him from a distance, and he responded in stunned silence. As rumors of the discovery spread through the media, headlines exploded. Diana's secret diaries were discovered in Camilla's bedroom. Princess Anne reveals the royal lie's hidden chest. Charlotte's discovery is the cause of the palace crisis. There was a huge swing in public sympathy. Many people's long-held concerns that Camilla had never truly addressed Diana's legacy were exacerbated by this. Others argued that it was a humanizing moment, noting that Camilla had also experienced memory loss, guilt, and the weight of her royal past. Diana's voice was no longer silent, and that was clear. Diana's willingness to open up about her inner battles completely changed everything. She openly admitted to having intense feelings of worthlessness, despair, and bulimia. It was unheard of for a royal. The palace's guiding principle at the time was to never explain or complain. Diana, however, broke the silence. Her bravery inspired others to speak out as well. People witnessed a royal who wept, doubted himself, and was hurt, and for some reason, it increased their feelings for her. She refused to appear in photos. In Angola, She held the hands of the dying while sitting at hospital bedsides and navigating dangerous minefields. She was suddenly viewed as a global humanitarian as well as the people's princess. Diana's boys were her entire world and remain her legacy to this day. According to Prince William, the outpouring of affection following her death made British culture softer. He and Harry have both emulated her altruism, particularly in breaking down mental health stigmas. However, the trauma resulted in wounds. Prince Harry, in particular, has expressed his grief over his mother's death and his fear that Meghan will suffer the same fate. Diana's spirit haunts the Windsor family in both tragic and lovely ways. Diana's impact has only grown since her death. She was ranked third, ahead of several monarchs, in the BBC's list of the 100 Greatest Britons in 2002. In 2020, Time magazine named her one of the most influential women of the century. These accolades are more than just symbolic. They show how Diana transformed culture in addition to fashion and philanthropy. She lent strength to vulnerability. She popularized compassion. She also gave humans to the royals. Was Diana's early suffering the source of her intense desire for love? Of course. Her constant search for emotional stability was most likely influenced by her tense relationship with her mother, Frances Shan Kidd. Diana often felt alone. She desired reassurance more than love, making the cold palace life even more unbearable. But her greatest strength, empathy, stemmed from an inner desire. Because she understood them, she was able to connect with the injured, disenfranchised, and forgotten. Historically, the Queen's bedroom symbolized her private haven, regal authority, and silence. It now serves as a repository of revelation, remorse, and memory. Princess Anne, who is stoic and committed to the truth, has seized the objects. According to reports, the letters will be archived by a private organization, with the possibility of selected passages becoming public in the future. Princess Charlotte's unintentional discovery, with Prince William's approval, has cemented her position as both a custodian of truth and a royal heir to the throne. The monarchy may not be affected by the scandal. It will never be the same, however. Every grin and ceremonial wave is fueled by the knowledge that one young girl and her great-aunt discovered Diana's soul, which was locked in a chest, buried in silence and longing to be heard. The monarchy and all of us have been shaken by what Princess Anne and young Charlotte discovered in Queen Camilla's room. Was it a secret or a secret treachery? Please subscribe to our channel for more royal secrets. What if you were Anne? How would you have responded? Is it appropriate to publish these diaries? Tell us in the comments below.